Broncos hats. I think we did a bet, Carl and I, in fantasy football, and I'm not sure if I owe him or he owes me, but I got to get one. So we'll let this breathe for just a second. We've got green checks across the board. Mike sounds good. Lance, you look good. I don't know about me. I face for radio, but here we go. Tuesday night, Broncos country, building the Broncos, yours truly, and Lance Sanderson. No, it's not Wednesday night. No, it's not Friday night. It's Tuesday night, building the Broncos. And Lance, you put it best on Twitter, man. Not too many shows we get to intermingle, but whenever we do, there's fireworks, energy, tons of nerding out over the good old football.
Yeah, man, it's great to talk to you again. It's been a while. Obviously, we haven't gotten a chance to sit down, just you and I, on a stream, and this is like the third or fourth time we've done it. So it's been a minute, but it's always good to be able to sit down and chop it up with you, dude, and kind of throw some hot takes with each other back and forth. I always enjoy doing some shows where I can kind of get away from Eric, and no offense to my partner, but to get away and just mix it up a little bit, get out of that echo chamber, kind of, the same talking points, and to kind of just throw back and forth with another person is always a lot of fun, man. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I remember the last show we did, and it was almost a year ago. It was the 9/11 show. And I remember because that was a big emotional day for every American. It was super cool to do it with you and just kind of get through that, because we're emotional guys, right? Football's an emotional game, and I am as emotional as they come. I'm not saying I'm an emo or anything like that, but I definitely like to let my opinions and feelings be heard. Speaking of being heard, let's say hello to some of the Super Chat superstars and our friends and family in the MHH community, starting off with Michaela Parker, a very generous $4.99 super chat, kicking our show off saying, "Hi guys, good to see you both." Thank you so much, Michaela. Love the energy starting here on Building the Broncos.
Yeah, Michaela, the Duchess of the Mile High Huddle community. It's always great to see her. What's up to Jeff Noyes here as well. Hello, Luke, Lance, Dylan, and Broncos country. We got Nick behind the scenes, not necessarily feeling too hot, but he's going to be producing the show for us tonight. Not Scott. He's off doing the baseball thing with the kids. So shout out to Nick Kendall at Nick Kendall MHH, by the way. T, what's going on there over on the side as well? Diamond Rattler in the house. What's going on, guys? Hello, Broncos country. Welcome into Building the Broncos. It's awkward to say that. Building the Broncos.
I know.
Tires, right? It's crazy.
I know. It's like it's a 1/2 DVDD and MHI takeover here on a Tuesday night. And what better timing? I was just talking to you too, Lance. I mean, you've got some film breakdowns we've got to get to. I've got an article that relates to some of that stuff, but this period in Broncos country is often referred to as the dead period. And I just can't help but push back right now when you see Russell Wilson over in London getting workouts in. You see the UK crowd, and we've got our own UK members in MHH and our fans and family out there. But man, there is no such thing as a dead season when Russell Wilson is your quarterback. You're getting picked to win the division. You're getting picked to have breakout player of the year in Jerry Jeudy. I mean, so many good things tend to pop up for the Broncos day after day in this dead season.
It's always fun to like the offseason awards ceremonies and like the Mount Rushmores and like the top 5 breakout players of each team. And it's always fun to kind of like have those conversations, think outside of the box, get away from the news cycle a little bit. Like everything we're talking about now is like a lot of speculation and just like, here's my prediction. The 5 breakout players for the Broncos this season are going to be KJ Hamler over Jerry Jeudy. Draymond Jones is going to be one. We're going to see the return of Michael Ojemudia. And I mean, tell with it just because I can. And I'm going to be froggy here for a second. Like Luke Kushner is going to take a big step forward this year. Like stuff like that. It's always fun to see. That's not really my take. I'm just kind of having fun here. Because
I was going to say I did see the audio was released of Russ being mic'd up at some OTAs. I think today Broncos released that, and I did see a snap that went pretty high, and Russ had to grab it. But I digress. You're exactly right, man. These are good problems to have, and these are, I mean. Heck, you and I were just talking about it before the show, Lance. The Colorado, Broncos country, we're riding Avalanche high right now. Congratulations to the 2022 Colorado Avalanche. Hockey guy, I'm a bandwagon fan. I've jumped on that. It's so cool, man. And the Broncos and the Avalanche, they're intertingled, if you will. I mean, the 97-98 Super Bowl team, and then you've got the 2001 Colorado Avalanche. It's pretty special to see all the success in the Mile High City.
Yeah, it's like, what a time to be alive if you're in Denver, like right now. Like
Yeah.
the Broncos are finally going to be back to relevancy, or at least that's what we're kind of expecting here with Russell Wilson. The new coaching staff, we got to kind of see the kinks and stuff like that work out. But you've got the Avs, who are the Stanley Cup champions. You've got the Nuggets, who have a 2-time MVP in Nikola Jokic. The Colorado Mammoth just won the National League Lacrosse.
Right.
National championship or whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know lacrosse at all, but then you've got the lowly Rockies, who, despite not being a doormat, at least they're still kind of playing some decent baseball from what it sounds like. I heard Chad Kuhl had a really nice outing, but it's like, it's fun. Like, it's fun to be in like a fan of Colorado sports, because every team except for the Rockies is just playing at an incredibly high level, and they're all competing for championships. And it's coming full circle here with the Denver Broncos getting back into relevancy. So,
speaking of relevancy, our guy Dom has been nothing but a gentleman and so supportive of everything that we're doing here at MHH. And I just want to say thank you and give you a shout out. Dom saying, good evening, LP, Lance, and my boy Nick. What's up, Broncos country? Denver Broncos for life. That's right, folks. Nick is producing for us tonight. Scott, we're going to let our guys, let's get some time off. It's summer, right? Summer, after all. You got to spend some time with your friends and your family. Nick, a little under the weather. I loved Nick's squeaky voice. We got to talk to Nick just a little bit. And I know you're blushing right now, Nick, but I loved that squeaky voice, man, because the hair still looked good. He had a nice, good-looking Broncos hoodie on, but squeaky voice, man. I absolutely love it. Nick's feeling better, and I know he appreciates all you guys and the well wishes. It's cool to see that over on Facebook as well. And speaking of Facebook, our guy Phil McLaughlin coming in with some generous support from Facebook. Good evening, Luke, Lance, and Nick. I hope you're feeling better, Nick. Hashtag let's ride. Hashtag let's go Broncos. Congrats to the Colorado Avalanche. Lance, I know this is a football podcast, but I would just be ignorant if I didn't bring up the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, championship parade on Thursday. That sets the standard. That sets a little bit of pressure for the Denver Broncos. It was already championship or bust the moment Russell Wilson landed in Denver. But do you buy into that? Is that real? Is that real pressure, or is it just a bunch of fan narrative nonsense I'm speaking here? Because I don't know what to make of it. I really don't.
I think it's a little bit of both. I do think that there is some pressure to succeed early when you finally have the quarterback position figured out. Like, that's been a debate that's been ongoing since Peyton Manning retired back after the Super Bowl 50. So you do have to kind of understand where this fan base is sitting right now. Like, you have to understand, like, we're starved for success at the NFL level with the Broncos. So you've got to have that pressure a little bit, but also at the same time, it's a little bit unfounded, because this is still all brand new to everybody. We've got a brand new coaching staff that has very little experience from the top to the bottom. You've got a brand new quarterback, brand new offensive system, bringing in all these new pieces together and making them all a cohesive unit right away and having sustained success early and immediately. Yeah. I don't think that that's necessarily a realistic take. And Gary Leeds jumping in. Gary Leeds Palmer, a great friend of mine on Facebook. Hey, Lance, Luke, and Nick, MHH for life, go Broncos, and let's ride. Thank you, Gary, for joining us, man.
Thanks, GLP.
Like that's just it to me. It's like I have all these high expectations and I want this team to succeed right away. But if they come out stumbling, like, it's not the end of the world, guys. Look at what happened with Peyton Manning back in 2012. They started off 2-3, had the big comeback victory against the San Diego Chargers at that particular point on Monday Night Football or whatever it was. And then they just took off. So, like, if they come out stumbling a little bit and trying to get their feet underneath them and stuff like that, have a little bit of patience, because the long haul, the final outcome is bigger than the immediacy.
You're exactly right, Lance, and you're hitting on something that I want to get back to, because I think that a lot of people are overlooking it, including myself. And how could you not? I mean, Russell Wilson is here. Life is good, baby. You got the biggest billionaire in the NFL. Life is good, baby. Avs, Nuggets. I mean, we're everything is awesome. I almost cursed just there, because life is good. We have small problems, but you're a hunter. I'm a hunter. Nick loves the outdoors. You got to scout, right? Before you go hunting, you've got to learn herd patterns. You've got to know what your weather's going to be like. It's hard to guess. You've got to be familiar with your territory. There's something to be said for difference between scouting and actual hunting. I mean, your prep, your practice, everything that goes into it. You don't know if you're going to game or bag an animal per se. I like to tell people that are going hunting for the first time, we're not going out to drop an animal. We're going out to try to fill the freezer. We're going out to try and harvest some meat. And if we don't, I hope you had a good time anyway, because I know that's it for me in nature. I know that's it for you and Nick as well. But I mean, forgive the poor analogy, but live bullets, so to speak, are totally different. Practice right now, these guys are filling themselves. Things are going well, but it's totally different in the regular season. Dale Fleming, what's up, man? Don't be sorry. He's saying, sorry, I'm late, guys. No, sorry. No apologies. Dale, you've been with us since day one. I appreciate it. Good evening, Lance, Luke, Dylan, Nick, and Broncos country. Thanks for making the show.
What up, Dale?
I'm joined with Lance Sanderson, one half of the Dove Valley Deep Divers. You can catch Eric Trickle and Lance Sanderson every Friday night at 6 p.m. Mountain for Dove Valley Deep Divers. The boys will be on here in a couple of days. And our guy, Mike Ronquillo, speaking of boys, $20 super chat saying, this is for Nick. Wow, that is very generous of you, Michael. Thank you very much. I know Nick's very humbled and he appreciates it as well. I would say that he would say thank you himself, but that squeaky voice, I don't think he wants me to put him on just now, but thank you very much, Michael. That's very, very kind of you. And Michael, man, one of our guys, absolutely love Mike and all the support he gives us. Jason O'Neill watching the show. Good day to all of Broncos country. It is a good day, because we're talking football and we're talking Russ Wilson. We're talking the Avs getting a Stanley Cup. There's going to be a parade on Thursday. I'm curious how many Broncos are going to be there. I know Russ is doing his thing over in the UK right now. That was pretty cool to see. Melvin Gordon on NFL Network this morning. I mean, the Broncos are prime time, dude, and we haven't even got to the regular season yet. They've got 10 nationally televised games. And then some guy, you might have heard of him, Lance, Chad Reuter, is saying that Greg Dulcich is going to make the 2022 offensive rookie team, all offense. Just amazing to me, man. A 3rd-round draft pick number 80 overall. And Chad Reuter's coming in here saying this kid is going to be a star. You did a film breakdown on him. But before I get to that, I want to just read just a little bit of what Chad Reuter had to say. I did a quick article on milehighhuddle.com. And Chad Reuter said the Broncos have a talented collection of wide receivers for quarterback Russell Wilson to find downfield in Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy. However, Greg Dulcich has a chance to see a lot of snaps as either a starter or running mate of Albert O as tight end. The former Bruin star could become a safety valve and red zone threat for Russell Wilson. Remember when Jimmy Graham had 16 touchdowns in his final 2 seasons in Seattle? Lance, this is something Nick and I love to go back and forth on, because he's absolutely right. There's not a ton of tight end success when it comes to Russell Wilson, but I think sometimes you can teach an old dog new tricks. What do you make of Chad Reuter naming Greg Dulcich as kind of for me, a dark horse candidate? He's saying he's going to make the all offensive rookie team.
Well, to me, so on that film breakdown that I did a couple of weeks ago, guys, go check that out at milehighhuddle.com. Just click on the drop-down menu and find the film sections and stuff like that. When I got done doing my reevaluation of Greg Dulcich, I came away a little bit more impressed, specifically because based on what we're hearing coming out of Dove Valley in the practices and stuff like that, seeing the wide zone with the bootleg keep and everything, it blends perfectly based on like the old Mike Shanahan offense to get Dulcich out and utilizing that straight line speed that he has, because he's not like a superior route runner in terms of his cutting ability and stuff like that, but he does a really good job of like finding the open holes and zones and sitting down and stuff like that. And he utilizes that speed in a really, really nice way. I think that's going to accent really well with Russell Wilson on the bootleg keep action, where you got the flow going one way, you're going to get Dulcich coming back over the middle of the field on the crossing route and stuff like that, and it's going to be just easy, just pitch and catch. So to me, I think the utilization of not only what Greg Dulcich does, but just the offense in general is going to lend a little bit more success towards the tight end, and with Russell Wilson being able to read the field, and a lot of it's going to be like touchdown to check down. So that means you got the deep post over, hit the touchdown, bring it back towards, and you're going to get Dulcich running over the middle of the field in the intermediate area. And to me, I think that's a really big way that he can have some success. The problem is, though, you got to get him out there on 1st and 2nd down, and his blocking as of right now is not necessarily very good. It was one thing that really hung up with me watching him for this film breakdown was the efforts there, but he's got to get a lot stronger. He's got to play with a little bit more tenacity, and his technique has to come a long way. And I want to break this down here in a minute, but I want to bounce that off of you. What do you think? When does Dulcich see the field first?
It could be early, man. Alberto has a history of injury. it's not significant to the point where I would say he's snake bitten by any means, but I think he's going to have a lot of competition coming into this season. I think competition is the new word over at UC Health Training Center, and no man is safe. Hell, your boy Garrett Bowles has taken that position, and I absolutely love it, saying that arguably Garrett Bowles, to me, the only solidified starter on that offensive line, is saying, look, I got to come out and compete for my job. I absolutely love it. It's something that everyone on this Broncos team needs to embrace. You alluded to it earlier, Lloyd Cushenberry. You need to get ready. So, Alberto, if your blocking hasn't improved by now, get ready, because Greg Dulcich is going to come in. He's going to give that effort, like you said, but it's a huge jump, Lance, just like you said, from UCLA over to the Denver Broncos in the third round. But then again, so is being a walk-on versus getting a scholarship and eventually getting that scholarship in 2020. The deck has never been in favor of Greg, and I absolutely love it. I think it's something that he thrives off of. And I've told Nick and Carl before, I could just see this guy being a superstar. He's got the look, he's got the funk. I want to see if he's got the play, because he could definitely take over as the starting tight end, I think, by the end of the season. If he's all cracked out what he needs to be, then let's see it. But I think it's going to take a little time. It's more than a high-low read. Like you said, with Russell Wilson, you get so much different of a complexity of an offense. And in that Shanahan offense, you gave me goosebumps when you said naked bootleg, because Jake Plummer, the best quarterback I've ever seen do a bootleg, especially to the left. I mean, like, a right-handed quarterback booting left is one of the hardest things to ever do. Insane. I can't wait to see it. But John Fields is coming in as well with some support. Thank you so much for joining Lance and I here on Building the Broncos, saying hello, fellas, from Baltimore. Let's get it. Let's go, Denver Broncos. I love it, man, when we see that orange and blue all over the globe, man, because our mission statement, really, and our belief here at MHH, Broncos country, is not a geographical location. It is a state of being. See Broncos country for the proof of that. And Lance, I think Broncos country is going to travel even better than they did in the Peyton years in the next 4 or 5 years. I really do. Nick is going to be behind enemy lines on that first game on Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson returning to Seattle. I mean, I expect to see some orange in that field. Not just the neon green. I really do. I wonder how many Seahawks fans are secretly buying number 3 orange jerseys. I know they're still a little bitter, but man, it's cool to see Broncos all over the place.
I don't expect to see a lot of orange. I expect to see one specific orange, and it better be our boy behind the scenes right now running the 1s and 2s. Nick, you need to get tickets, and you need to get your ass to
he's going. He's going. He's going, dude. He's going.
Awesome.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
He's going. Nick is going to be there. Go. Yeah. I'm going to find out. And Nick will do it. You know, he will. He'll get on Twitter. He'll let you know where he's sitting. You could chop it up with him. Get it, all of us. Get it, Lance at Sanderson MHH. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. We love rapping with you guys. This is football. Yep. This is what we love. You allow us to do it, just like Michaela Parker, who's been an absolute star tonight. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for your generosity. $20 super chat. Thank you. Saying, I love Greg Dulcich. I think he will be a stud. Oh, and yes, the great hair. Man, I think he's going to be a stud too.
I got to grab this because Nick put it in there. It said the future face of Head and Shoulders. Like, you remember the Troy Polamalu commercials from back in the day?
Dude. And he was pulling down some serious cash. And what they got, was it Mahomes? Is he the new guy? And they were doing like a Polamalu Mahomes thing. I don't know, man. There's so much money to be made by these NFL stars. And I mean, I think you're going to see Russell Wilson repping a lot more stuff, especially in Broncos. And that he's a businessman. And this kid, this Greg Dulcich kid, man, I didn't see him on the Broncos radar. I really didn't, to be honest with you. I know that you were having a very special day that weekend in your wedding with the NFL draft, so we didn't get to chalk it up like normal, but I was surprised when the 6'3", 245-pounder was picked. It screamed to me that Russell Wilson had some fingerprints on this move. I'm not saying that Russ runs the team. I'm not saying that George Payton has to run every move past him, but that was one of the complaints he had in Seattle, right, Lance? He wanted to be involved in decisions. Mm-hmm. I think this was probably some involvement. And I'm not saying Russ was banging the table for Dulcich out of UCLA, but he knows George Payton's a UCLA guy. He's got an eye for talent. What do you think?
To me, I don't necessarily know that it was all Russell Wilson, because you watch like the Behind the Broncos episode when they were doing all the draft picks and stuff like that. Like Nathaniel Hackett was up and down, over the moon, like multiple different times. Even I believe it was even with before they traded down at 72, and then even at 64, is like, I mean, Dulcich is there. Let's go get our guy. Like they were all about Greg Dulcich, even as far as going into the second round to go and get him. You know, the Nick Benito being there happened to be kind of the icing on the cake, and then they were able to trade down and still land Dulcich at 80, you know, and like, so I don't know if it's 100% on Russell Wilson to be there. I think Nathaniel Hackett really had a big deal with that, but Russell obviously had to sign off on it. I'm going to go back a little bit more into the impact that he can make just early in year one. Like, everybody knows quarterback's like the hardest position to translate into the NFL. Tight end is easily up there. If it's not number 2 or 3, it's definitely within the top 5, and it's not 5. Like, it's incredibly hard to transition from college to the NFL. And when you got a guy like Greg Dulcich, who was a wide receiver in high school, transitioned to the tight end position at UCLA, and then managed to be able to get drafted as a 3rd round pick, like, that shows a lot of growth in him and his abilities. And I really am, I'm really like excited for that. But the reason why tight end's so hard is because think of like an offensive tackle really fast. They play on one side of the line of scrimmage. They know the run sets, the pass sets, and everything like that. Garrett Bowles, he plays left tackle. That's it. Greg Dulcich has to learn the run blocking and pass blocking on both sides of the offensive line. He has to understand his pass protection sets and stuff like that on both sides of the offensive line. He has to understand the run blocking and everything on both sides of the offensive line. Then he also has to understand 3 or 4 different route trees, because he's not only going to line up in line, he's going to line up in the slot, maybe as the backside X receiver. He's got to understand some full black stuff, some H-back stuff as far as the blocking and route running and everything like that is concerned. There's so much you have to know playing the tight end position. So it might take a minute. However, dude, like, he's got just enough natural talent and athleticism that he could step in immediately and oversee Alberto. In fact, I said in the late end of that film piece, depending on his blocking ability, if he shows to be a better blocker than Alberto, why not throw him out there week 1 as the number 1 tight end? I don't see that happening, but it's definitely not a long shot possibility, because we just don't know with Alberto. And Jay Kozad coming in here saying Alberto could end up being traded at the end of camp if Greg balls out. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do see Alberto being unseated.
Jay, that's interesting you say that, because last week on Building the Broncos, I joined Carl, and Carl and I both came to the conclusion that Alberto might be a dark horse candidate to be traded, just because I think sometimes because of his talent. I think sometimes people see that as a slight, and I see it as a complete compliment. If a guy has, teams might be interested in this guy, that's because you've got something. Teams aren't going to just give away draft capital. I'm not sure if they're going to go with all in on the rookie right away, Jay. I think you got to pump the brakes just a little bit. Look at the Broncos tight end room over the past few years. It's been so beat up, man. It's one of the, outside of right tackle, it's the position that's in the injured reserve the most. So you really do have to lean on getting a little bit more depth. But when you look at Dulcich, I mean, he was named to the Mackey Award preseason watch list. He recorded 42 catches for 725 yards, 5 touchdowns in 11 games last year. I know those aren't Star Wars numbers, but his film breakdown, film don't lie, right, Lance? That's the thing. Tape don't lie. Sometimes numbers can get skewed, but either way, man, I think you're going to see some exciting offense, just like you're seeing some excitement from MHH. Mark Schrader, appreciate you so much for joining the show. Greg Smith, I see you in the chat as well. Mark, thank you. One of the biggest things that I like to tell folks, and I know you subscribe to this as well, Lance, the best gift that we can give each other is time. We can't get time back. There's only this moment. There's only this second. And I can't thank you guys enough for joining Lance and I and Nick on the 1s and 2s for Building the Broncos. Get it, Lance, on Twitter at Sanderson MHH. If you'd like to reach out to Nick, that's at Nick Kendall MHH, and yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Our guy Dale is in the house giving us some confirmation saying, yep, Troy Polamalu and Pat Mahomes did the Head and Shoulders commercials together. Yeah, you've got the pizza commercials, right, with Aaron Rodgers, and he's Pizza Hut. And then for a little while, or no, I'm thinking insurance, right? State Farm versus.
Yeah, he's State Farm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. NFL, man, you want to make some money and you're a quarterback too? Get on some commercials in the NFL. You know, Russ is about to do that. We're talking about Greg Dulcich and his potential in the 2022 offense. we're talking, we want to see immediate potential, immediate success. We want to see why George Payton picked him with a premium draft pick. I mean, round 3, number 80 is nothing to scoff at, Lance. You know that better than anybody. You take a huge dive into the draft every year. It's a premium pick. What would you say to somebody that doesn't know a lot about Greg Dulcich? What could they expect out of this young man? Because I'm looking at it, I don't see a lot of 2 tight end sets with this offense. I really don't. You want to keep as many receivers on the field as you can, whether that be big-bodied guys like Tim Patrick or Cortland Sutton, or you want to go speed with KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy. I just don't see 2 tight end sets a lot. So if he is the guy, what should Broncos country be looking out for?
Well, I think a lot of it is just the complementary skill set that he brings to the rest of this offense. I mean, like I was getting at just a little bit earlier, his ability to stretch the field vertically, even though he's, 6'5", 262 pounds or whatever the hell it is, like he still has the ability to get vertical, and he has a big catch radius, especially over the middle of the field. Like there's a lot that you can really use with this guy. And something that really kind of stuck out with me was when I was watching his route running. Yeah, I kind of dogged him for not being able to make sharp cuts in his route running and stuff like that. I mean, again, 6'5", 262 pounds. That's kind of hard to, maintain those sharp cuts and stuff like that. But he just understands coverages. And that goes back to his time as a wide receiver. And obviously the transition with Chip Kelly, who was a former NFL head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. They run a system down there at UCLA that I think actually translates pretty well, because you have to understand the zone coverages that you're seeing in front of you. And if you go back and you watch the Arizona State game that Greg Dulcich had, he just picked apart that zone coverage over the middle of the field, just getting vertical, sitting down, turning around, giving a big presentation of a target, and using his hands away from his body, the smooth catch radius that he has. And I wish there was some more physicality. That would be the one thing I would say is, when guys get draped over him, he does have a tendency to kind of crumble down. When he gets a head of steam, though, that guy will run through a brick wall. It's amazing to see him. As far as like an impact statistics wise, if you can get him in his rookie season, because it's going to be in a timeshare with Alberto, and Eric Tomlinson as well is going to be in the mix. There's Andrew Beck as well, potentially could make this roster. If you can get Greg Dulcich 25 to 30 catches on the season and 300 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, like that's a pretty decent rookie season for a guy of his caliber. And I think that he has the ability to go out and do something like that.
Is there pro comparison? Putting you on the spot real quick. I know it's really hard to do. I'm trying to Google some because I didn't have this cat very high on my list. I was in love with Trey McBride. Shocker. Chase Wellner, what's up, man? Good evening, Broncos country. Thank you for joining us, Chase. And dude, Happy Gilmore. Happy was on the other day. I had to go to it. Absolutely love that profile pic. Mike S., Alabama Crimson Tide, always with us, saying what's up, Broncos country. I'm looking at one site, Lance. It's got a pro comparison for Jared Cook. I don't like that per se, because I feel like that's looking at the size metrics, and he's a big cat. You're right. He is a big cat. He was a former receiver. He had to put on weight to become a tight end, but he's a lean tight end. He is a lean 245. I mean, this is not a guy like, a Mercedes Lewis or a big bulky tight end going out there. I mean, he holds his weight very well, and he looks like a freak athlete, but I don't know, man. I struggle with the pro comparisons. Do you have a name or two, maybe?
Honestly, I don't. I really struggle with the pro comparisons too. Like, I understand where someone's coming from with the Jared Cook comparison, and Nick Kendall jumping in here down at the bottom saying Dawson Knox, and that's actually that's a good one. I like that one. I like that one a lot. As far as man, that's just a tough question because I don't do comparisons. It's like I try to just let the player speak for himself, but to give you kind of a better idea, not the best blocker, coming out, vertical straight line speed athlete, and everyone's gonna kill me on this one. But if you look at the scouting report of Travis Kelce when he came out of Cincinnati, you're talking a 3rd round pick, raw route runner, didn't have like a good athlete, bigger catch radius, wasn't the best blocker, had to develop a lot. That is a decent comparison to me, just based on the scouting reports themselves. But you can't translate that right now because Travis Kelce did such a great job of just of his development in terms of his blocking, and then he has the best quarterback in the NFL throwing him the football. But I mean, you can kind of see some similarities with what Dulcich did as compared to what Kelce did at Cincinnati. That's just my personal opinion. Like I hate doing that, but like that's kind of the way I went.
Yeah, well, and no one knew Travis Kelce was going to be a star. I mean,
Right,
otherwise he would have been drafted way earlier. So I'm not going to get on you for that, man. I think pro comparisons are tough. It's hard to come up with names and try to make it fit, but you're in good company here because I'm looking at something from Tony Pauline, and Nick and I and everyone in the football community under the sun have so much respect for Tony, and he's confirming everything you're saying he's a terrific pass catching tight end who's displayed consistent progress in his game the past 2 seasons. He's more of a move tight end, but has the frame to get stronger and develop into the blocker. He has tremendous upside, starting potential, and could be a special player at the position 2 years down the road. We want to talk immediate impact. I think this man is going to make an immediate impact on the special teams unit. I think that's where you're going to see the first highlight or two of Greg Dulcich. I want to know if he could hit. I want to know if he could tackle, because there's no reason this cat shouldn't be on the kickoff team. I mean, you've got a very, very fired up special teams coordinator in Dwayne Stukes. He talked about wanting to run through a brick wall. I want to run through a brick wall here in special teams interviews now. I mean, how crazy is that? As the sun is definitely no longer a long part at UC Health Training Center when it comes to the special teams unit and the interview. Lawrence Rivera, what's up, buddy? What's up? Appreciate you so much, Larry. Thank you for joining Lance, Nick, and I on Building the Broncos. You can catch Building the Broncos with Carl and Nick every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain. Scott's usually on the 1s and 2s. And we've got a bit of a mashup going on here as we try to get some guys and some gals some awesome time with their friends and family. And Mr. Rivera, again, we appreciate your support so much. Your kindness goes a long way. It helps us keep the lights on. Derek Blair coming in here with a very good question, Lance. I could see he's kind of got you thinking. You kind of want to mull over some things before you say it. I'm going to hit you with the question. Derek, I love it. Do we have a better roster this year than 2015?
No.
Why not?
No, we don't. I think the offensive line was a little bit more settled, even getting Evan Mathis late in the process to play left guard there. But you had Demaryius Thomas, who was a proven receiver at that time. You had Emmanuel Sanders, who was a proven receiver at that time. Owen Daniels, who even despite being on the latter end of his career was still a proven tight end that you knew what you were going to get with him. He's also a much better blocker than anybody that the Broncos have on this team. Then you have the Sheriff, who despite in 2015 was obviously on the downside of his career and was not playing necessarily the best. He just lost all of his ability throwing the football, but he still put the Broncos in the right place and right decision. But then defensively, that secondary, guys, was just it was incredible. The whole defense, top to bottom, was just. I mean, you had Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, Malik Jackson, what he was able to do playing that 5 technique. Derek Wolfe playing the 5 technique as well. I mean, like they had that defense was just so incredible, so incredible. Danny Trevathan and Brandon Marshall, like look at what happened to those guys. Danny Trevathan went off and got paid. You had Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., Bradley Roby, Darian Stewart, TJ Ward. Like that defense. Don't get me wrong, I like this Broncos roster right now, but that roster and the coaching staff with Gary Kubiak, it's like Nick said, the 2015 defense has an argument for the greatest defense of all time. It's impossible to replicate. I'll take this year's offense, but the 2015 defense was different, and that really is the big difference there. That 2015 unit was absolutely incredible. They got so fortunate with a lot of bounces coming their way, but they created a lot of that. Like that defense was so swarming to the football, and Wade Phillips deserves all of the credit for that Super Bowl, because without him, I don't know that they necessarily get it done.
Son of bum. I absolutely love it. And anytime we can give Wade some props, we do it. K-Hop coming in here too, saying, look, Shaq Barrett got paid and turned into a monster down in Tampa. I mean, humble beginnings. Shout out CSU Rams. I don't know. When I look at it, and I was starting to write down some names on a notepad here as you were talking, Lance, and I go Hall of Fame. You got 3 Hall of Famers on that 2015 team: Peyton Manning, DeMarcus Ware, and Von Miller. This team, who's that? Who's the 4th one?
I think Chris Harris Jr. still, even in Denver media, gets a bad rap. I think that there's a good case for him. I really do.
Hall of Fame,
I really do. Yes, I really do. I think it may take some time to get him there. The reason why I say that is because at the time, and nobody wants to admit it, because you still had the tail end of the Richard Sherman stuff like that, and the high end cornerbacks in the NFL. But there was a time where Chris Harris Jr. was the best cornerback in the league, and it was like 3 or 4 seasons. 2014, 15, and 16, he was playing at a level that was incredibly lights out. Like there was a lot of times where him playing in the slot, you knew that there was no way that there was going to get a completion. I think Chris Harris Jr., based on the story alone and his ability to come from, and maybe this is my personal bias shining through here just a little bit, but to be able to come from undrafted free agent player out of Kansas, barely making the roster his rookie season, making an incredible impact, turning into one of the best cornerbacks in franchise history, I think there's an argument there. It may take some time. It's not going to be a first ballot guy, but I think that, and K-Hop coming in here, what about Talib? Akeem Talib has an argument there as well. I mean, there's a handful of players on that team there where you could say they're 4 or 5, maybe 6 in Demaryius Thomas. Like DT was is the second best wide receiver in Broncos history. There's an argument there too. Again, it may take some time. I don't think that that's going to happen, but there's an argument for it.
Mark Schrader, there's an argument for you being one of our favorite people in the world. Thank you so much for your support and helping us keep the lights on here at MHH. He's Lance Sanderson. I'm Luke Patterson. Nick Kendall on the 1s and 2s. Here's the thing, man. Chris Harris Jr. for me was the catalyst of the no-fly zone. He was definitely underrated when he was the top dog. I loved his fight. I loved his tenacity. You're right. I think sometimes when you take a step back and time has not been a friend to any defensive back, name me one, and I'm going to say, hey, Father Time gets us all. But look, Chris Harris Jr. has a very special place here in Broncos country, here in the history of the Denver Broncos. He's a Super Bowl champion for crying out loud, but I'm not sure that he's Hall of Fame worthy. I would put Randy Gradishar in the Hall way before I would ever consider Chris. And obviously you would too, because the rest of Broncos country, everybody's under the sun and their mother know the fact that Randy Gradishar, I mean, he was throwing down sacks before sacks were even a stat, and they use that against him to keep him out. I mean, it drives me insane, just like it does everybody. But yeah, Nick's coming in. He's giving us a little bit of reason. Ring of Fame, Broncos Ring of Fame. I can go there.
For sure.
And like you, man, I've got my favorites. I think Derek Wolfe was one of the most underrated players on that team as well. Vaughn has talked about it ad nauseum. Malik Jackson, like you said, when that was such a good question when you start comparing rosters, and when the fans are starting to compare rosters, and I know it's the dead period, but it gives me goosebumps because it's telling me the fan base is expecting a title run here. The fan base is gearing up for something special. I mean, no more no-shows at Empower Field at Mile High. No more boo birds at Mile High for the Broncos offense. I mean, things have literally changed overnight, and if you can't get excited about that, then, man, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm right there with you, man. I want to get your take on this, though. We obviously got Rob Walton in the house. And $70 billion all worth of him, or whatever the hell it is. Like, it's an insane amount of money. I don't know what I've heard your take on this, Luke. Are you still wanting the Power Field at Mile High downtown? Or are you wanting to get that son of a gun out there by like DIA or up in Centennial or like man, I want to know, because I have a very not really hot take. I think it's one that's kind of shared across a bunch of different platforms here. I want the new stadium, man. I want it out by DIA. I want it off of E470. I want it like right there where you fly into town. Here's the stadium loop. You can get around the stadium. There's hotels, there's bars, there's a couple of casinos if you want to do something like that. You've got shopping malls, restaurants, everything. The stadium's the focal point of it. Maybe get Ball Arena out there as well, because the Cronkies and the Waltons have that connection there. Build a stadium district and make it like the focal point of Denver. That way you have a new attraction to get people to come into town. Throw a retractable dome over the damn thing, get the Final Four in there, get WrestleMania, get a bunch of live concerts, get a Super Bowl, get the draft, get like, that's where I want. Like, to me, that's what I want.
Oh man, you got me excited. You gave me goosebumps. I think that's what's coming. It doesn't matter what I want. That's what's coming. You're exactly right. I mean, with all this money, you think he's just going to sit on that old relic? Look, I get it. Great history has happened in that stadium. I played the very first high school championship game in that field. I love that field. It's very special. Mr. Bolin, very special. Those things will never go away. But you are foolish to think if this billionaire is going to come into the NFL and not want to turn the Broncos into an NFL mecca. Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, they might be worth more. But I'm telling you, when you look at this Walton Penner group, you don't think they want to compete with Jerry World down there in Dallas? I mean, I get it. Texas is a little different when it comes to football and stuff like that. But look, Lance, we're Cowboys, Broncos country here, man. We've got a lot of tough football-loving Jessies here in the Mile High City and Broncos country too. And don't fool yourself. I think that will happen. I think it makes too much business sense for that to happen. I talked to Nick and Carl about it as well. I can't wait to see what this is going to do for the economy. I can't wait to see what it's going to do for the Broncos organization, for jobs, for bar owners, for folks working at the stadium, for a million different jobs that I can't even think of that it takes to put on a football game, let alone have the success that we love in professional football. I think you're exactly right. Clayton, our guy. What's up, Clayton? Good to see you.
What's up, dude?
Hey guys. First pod in a while. Been working a lot of OT. Remember, guys, smash that like button and share. I'm at the park with the little man while he plays and I listen. Thank you so much, Clayton. That's really wicked. Lance, I know you love listening to radio podcasts. Who doesn't? I do the same thing. And for me, man, I can trace radio and all that stuff back to sitting in my dad's pickup truck, driving around the town, doing whatever we needed to do. And it's a real honor, man, to hear that. Like we're on Clayton's pod right now, his iPod or his iPhone or whatever he's listening the podcast on with his son. Hearing us, man, that's cute. That's humbling, and it touches me, man. I'm really touched by that, Clayton. Thank you.
I'm right there with you, man. Just the fact we've got 120 people in here right now. Clayton obviously listening on his phone or whatever he's doing. Michaela Parker jumping back in here as well. We'll get to that here in just a second. But Michaela's a superstar. She's awesome, man. We met her at the Mile High Huddle meet and greet, which I didn't meet you at. Damn it.
What? Hey, someone had to work while y'all were going. Someone had to write and get everything done. No, and we joke, and obviously Nick on the ones and twos, feeling better and resting up. But speaking of getting back to work, I heard Chad Jensen's going to get back to work soon. I was looking at Twitter earlier today. I think Chad and Zach and the Huddle Up boys will all be back in the near future, and we appreciate you guys being flexible with us in our schedules because it's all about family time too, Clayton. I absolutely love it. Someone on Twitter the other day had threw a question saying what would be some advice that you would give anybody, and I would say play catch with your kids. It's something small. It doesn't have to be catch. If you're not athletic, play chess, read to your kids, play games, laugh, tell jokes, just be good to each other and spend time. Be a kid yourself. I love to be silly. Lance, I know you're a dad as well. It's important to really just kind of break those egos and pride and just be yourself and have some fun like Michaela. And she's being herself, ornery as hell. When the Broncos play the Raiders, I am breaking into Josh McDaniels' hotel room and putting itching powder in his brights. We need the leverage. I've never heard of like draws or underwears or any of that referred to as brights. Undies. Okay, there we go. I meant undies. I was going to say, I absolutely love it. I'm going to start saying, I got to get me a new clean pair of brights. But no, that's awesome. Josh McDaniels, Lance, we haven't got to talk in a while, and a lot's changed, not only here in Broncos country, but for the Las Vegas Raiders as well. I can't stand them. See my Twitter. I got into an argument with all of Raiders Nation the other day, and they're horrible, like I expected. And they can read and write, though. So that is interesting, and it was a surprise. But they got some guy named Devontae Adams out there in the desert. They've got Derek Carr. They've got Josh McDaniels. What do you make of the new look Raiders team? Because Raiders fans are out there talking all that noise, and I think they're going to get that smoke from Russ Wilson.
Man, I want to go back to Devontae Adams really fast because how much fun is it going to be watching him go up against Pat Surtain in man coverage, man? Like, oh man, that's fireworks right there. Like that's going to be an incredible battle. The one thing I want to go back to Josh McDaniels here because Nick is just throwing as much shade as he possibly can. They might be less bright after having to come back to Denver and hear this crowd. This is what he says. And
yeah, those underwears.
Yes, sir, Nick. Yes, sir, Nick. That's the wild card for this Raiders team. Obviously, their defense is there's a lot of questions. Like that's the biggest thing. I was listening to another radio show earlier today, and they were talking about the Raiders and their point differential. They were negative in their point differential and somehow still managed to make the playoffs. Like their defense is a huge concern. And everyone wants to think like this Raiders offense is such a huge juggernaut. Yeah, they can put up points at will if everything's clicking right. Josh McDaniels, though, that enters a new wrinkle into this. And I'm a Derek Derek Carr stan. Like, that's my dude. I love me some Derek Carr. Okay.
Okay.
I like Carr. I've always been a Derek Carr fan. I think he gets a bad rap. It hasn't necessarily had the best supporting cast for the most part. It was 2016, I believe it was. He was playing at an MVP level, and if he wouldn't have broken his leg, there was a good chance the Raiders had a very long playoff run, potentially even a Super Bowl berth in that team. Like, he averages like 4,200 yards a season and 25 touchdowns with less than 10 interceptions every single year. Derek Carr's a damn good quarterback. He may not be higher than top 10, but he's in the top 12 and he ain't 12. Like, he's definitely a guy that you have to really respect. They got him a brand new shiny toy and his best friend in Devontae Adams. They've got a decent running game. The offensive line seems to be at least holding together for the most part. And they've got a top 3 tight end in Darren Waller. Like, this offense is just ridiculous. And as K-Hop comes in here, he's most NFL game-winning drives of any active quarterback right now. Like, there is a lot to like about this team. And then you get Josh McDaniels, as Chase comes in here, ignoring him as a person. How good is Josh McDaniels for them in an X's and O's way?
Amazing. I mean, that's never been the problem, X's and O's, right, Lance? I mean, here's the thing. I do like it when guys and gals and anyone that has an active brain takes accountability for mistakes that they've made, because I do it all the time. Every day I make mistakes, but I try to own up to them the best I can. And when Josh McDaniels is spitting into the microphone saying, I did a horrible job in Denver, I was power hungry, I think that I like that. I think it shows some humility. I'm not falling over myself because I still have my reservations, but X's and O's weren't the issue with Josh, right? I mean, it was that personality. It was that little mini Belichick kind of attitude. And when you look at the Patriots, former Patriots assistants that are now head coaches or were head coaches, not a great track record of success, but I'd be lying to you, Lance, if I said I wasn't concerned. Because one thing that Josh McDaniels does do, X's and O's wise, is play to a quarterback's strengths. When he was here with Kyle freaking Orton, I had Kyle Orton on my fantasy team. Nobody cares, right? But Kyle Orton put up huge numbers that year. Absolutely huge fantasy football numbers.
Yeah, with Brandon Lloyd and Jabari Gaffney as his top 2 receivers.
I forgot about Jabari Gaffney, and he came from the Patriots too. Yeah. Oh man, that is crazy, Lance. I have not thought about those two. Why would you? In a really long time. But look, man, Derek Carr with Devontae Adams, with Darren Waller, Brandon Jacobs, I'm interested to see how he'll do. But Nick's bringing up a good point here. That offensive line has some problems too for the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, Colton Miller's kind of their gem right now at the left tackle position, and he's had some problems as well. And I think he's going to have more problems in the AFC West with the pass rushers this year.
Is he really a gem though? Like, he's improved. Don't get me wrong. I think he's
the only tackle. He's the only thing there, so I guess you'd call it a gem. It's the Raider. No, he's not a gem. He's a Raider. You're exactly right, Lance. He's a Jag. He's just another guy, but it's tough because outside of, those players, it's really hard to find a solid contributing member of the Raiders that's name is not Max Crosby. That guy scares the hell out of me. I mean, he is an and Chandler Jones now. I mean, good Lord. We're talking up your boy Garrett Bowles, but what about the right tackle position for the Broncos? I mean, are we going to go all in on Billy Turner? What's Calvin Anderson going to do? I mean, it's going to be a really, really important year for the right tackle position. I know every year we say that, but you got Russ here.
You're trying to protect him. Drink. You mentioned the right tackle position being a question mark. Drink. Honestly, if it's Billy Turner, I'm not necessarily too worried. I'm really not. I think that he played at least fair enough in Green Bay, and there's a reason why Nathaniel Hackett went out and made him a priority free agent for this team. Took a little while to get him, but they went out and they signed him to at least a decent deal to get him in at least into a competition. I feel more confident about this right tackle competition this year than I do even before, right after signing Juwan James. And I was really confident about Juwan James. Like, that was a guy, I did a film breakdown of him. This was when we were back over at 24/7 Sports. And Luke, I don't even think you were with Mile High Huddle at the time. But
no, I was with a totally different publication, man. That was when he was with the Miami Dolphins in 2017?
Yep. Yeah. That was one of the first film breakdowns that I actually did. It was it turned out to be a pretty decent piece, but you can never understand a person's mentality about things. And I don't want to get into that. That's not necessarily my thing. But at the same time, when everyone's saying you're ready to play and you're not ready to play, there's some questions going to get thrown around regardless. Like right. I've got somebody jumping in here really fast, but hi, honey.
Well, it's hard to look. That's something you can't see on film. You can't see a guy's sometimes you can see a guy's a guy's attitude, but you don't know a guy's mentality on film. And I think that's the point. And it's tough. I mean, the right tackle position has been a revolving door. And well, there's the missus. Congratulations, Mrs. Sanderson. You're making a huge appearance on Building the Broncos, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. You can find Nick and Carl every Tuesday night. It's yours truly and Lance holding it down. Nick on the 1s and 2s as Scott gets a little bit of a breather. Those Huddle Up boys will be back in the fold soon. And then tomorrow night, there's a special treat at MHI. Thomas Hall is going to be rocking with me on these very airwaves, so stay tuned. No, it's interesting when you start looking back in retrospect at the right tackle positions, what's gone wrong. Billy Turner, what a huge upgrade. If you would have told me he'd have been on this team, I wouldn't have believed you. But then again, wouldn't have believed you about Russell Wilson either. I mean, I was dug in about the Aaron Rodgers thing based off of things I was hearing on the road for the scouting trips. But man, it's so cool to be at this point, Lance, where we're not going to be talking about a quarterback competition in training camp, dude. We're not going to be talking about inept offensive coordinator and Pat Shurmur and fake crowd noise. And that was the play. And, John Elway, he's been meddling and, ownership. What's that going to look like? Man, problems and boxes are getting checked and crossed off the list for the Denver Broncos right now. We kid, obviously, but it's also true at the same time. I do hate the Raiders, but I respect them. I'm worried about them. And I'm seeing it in the chat too from Jeff, our guy, saying historically, the league was always more exciting when the Raiders are good. Jeff, I was watching that Raiders-Chargers game last year, just like you, Lance, right? I mean, trying to figure out which team's going to go in the playoffs. I've never seen that scenario. And you're sitting there thinking, man, if this is the future of the AFC West with Justin Herbert, now Derek Carr's got Devontae Adams and a hell of a play caller, that's going to be just insane. Michaela Parker coming in for some very lovely words of encouragement and 199 Super saying, you have a very lovely and nice wife, Lance. And
thank you.
Yeah,
sorry about that. The diaper bag ran out of diapers, so Samantha had to come in here. This is where this is also the baby's room. It's my office, but it's also the baby's room, and she had to come and get a diaper for the young one. So apologies for that, guys. But hopefully I didn't disturb anybody.
No, what were we calling them, Michaela? And before the undies, some brighties. He had to get a bridie change. Yep. And no, I hear you. That's the cool thing too, man. I've had a dog break in on me. I know Nick has too. I'm not sure if my daughter's crashed it yet, but it's cool when you're doing live on-air stuff like we do here at Mile High Huddle. We just roll with those punches, and Nick said it, Carl said it, Chad said it, Zach said it, Eric said it, you've said it. We cannot do anything without our friends, family, and support from our loved ones, especially you, Broncos country. You make the ship go round, not us. Phil coming in again, saying between the Raiders, Chiefs, and Chargers, where is our defensive secondary ranked in your opinion?
I need to look up the Chiefs roster really fast here, but it's probably at the top two.
Chargers
the Chargers
be up there,
Chargers
right?
secondary. The Chargers secondary is legit, guys. J.C. Jackson is a great player. Derwin James being healthy. I believe they still have
your boy CHJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say they still have Chris Harris Jr. As far as I'm aware. They brought in another cornerback as well. I really like Nazir Adderley, even though he hasn't really taking that next step forward. Maybe this is a year for him. Former Delaware kid, I believe he's a 3rd-round draft pick. Guy I really liked. But then you got Denver, who has Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, Ronald Darby. K'Wan Williams is a great slot cornerback. There's some depth there that they can work with. Michael Ojemudia is another good guy. But the Chiefs is really the one that I want to look at really fast. And the Raiders are just ass cheeks, guys. Let's be real here. That Raiders secondary is terrible,
horrible.
But when you're starting strong safety is what's the dang it. Jonathan Abrams, that's your starting safety at the strong safety position. He's a linebacker that plays safety and can't cover. They've got a long ways to go.
Back battle.
Yeah, exactly. He's absolutely terrible. But no, to me, let's see here. Oh, I forgot that the Chiefs drafted DeAndre Baker. That was a guy I really liked. Lonnie Johnson's another good name. They got Trent McDuffie. So we'll see how that we'll see how that plays out. And L'Jarius Sneed, who I thought has been just an absolute tremendous revelation coming out of Louisiana Tech. 3 years into the league this last season, he played incredibly good football, and I really like him. But there's still so many different questions here. I mean, Shalik, I'm not looking at the wrong name here. Like Nazi Johnson as a defensive back. There's a rookie for you out of Marshall. I just don't see any name really that stands out to me. Rashad Fenton is another cornerback for them. I'm probably going to see a lot of starting reps there. Lonnie Johnson, another guy that's kind of bounced around the league. He was in Houston there. I believe he was in Buffalo for a little bit, landed in Kansas City this last year. So that it's hard to have the Chiefs any higher than third potentially on this one. And who's this? What? Oh, Mike Renner. Okay. Jumping in here. Top 10 AFC secondaries. Go ahead, Luke, break this down for us.
Oh man, I think we're a little low here, Broncos country, of course, right? Because I'm covering the Broncos. I'm going to go that way. Man, come on now. Number 8. I mean, Chase is coming in here saying maybe you swap us with the Titans. Man, Vrabel's got that unit so dialed in right now. I'm okay with the Titans being ahead. But man, you know, you've got a ton of unproven stuff with the Browns and the Dolphins. Dolphins, I liked what they were doing last year. Can they do it again this year? I'm not sure. Chargers,
Xavier Howard's just a monster, dude. That kid's so good.
I think Chargers should be higher, and I think the Bills should be higher. I would go probably Ravens, Bills, Chargers, Bengals, Titans, Broncos in that one for me. I like the Bills defense, dude. Who the hell doesn't? Michaela coming in. Dolphins, what the heck? Yeah, I hear you, but Mike Renner, obviously, you know, everyone has their opinions, but Mike Renner is one of the most respected minds in the business as well. Shout out to Nick for throwing this one together, man. Nick knew we were going to touch on this subject long before we even got here, completely organically from our MHH fans. And Nick saying, look, the Broncos could be anywhere from 5 to 9 for me here. So they're, I guess, where they should be if you want to take a, logistical perspective on this. And that's good news, right? Because if this offense is going to be all that it's cracked up to be, the defense has some really high strengths with their secondary. We'll see what the pass rushers can do. The linebackers, hopefully they're on the up and up. But special teams, that's got to improve significantly. They have not had a top special teams unit since like the year 2003 or something like that. It's absolutely insane. Just like the way the time has flown by. Nick, Lance, whoa. I mean, geez, we're almost at the hour mark here, rocking on building the Broncos. He is Lance Sanderson. You could get at Lance at Sanderson MHH. You could get at Nick on the 1s and 2s at Nick Kendall MHH, and yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. And the chat has just been going tonight. We initially started the show with Greg Dulcich and what would his success look like, and this show, man, has been a huge success from the stars that Phil had just given us to now. Please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this name and correct me. Kayleon Green with some support on Facebook saying, yo, what's up, Broncos country? Man, it's cool to see Broncos country so alive in a championship week because, Lance, I know you're pumped about it, dude, but the cup has come home. It's a big, big week for Colorado sports, for the Avs, for the Broncos, for the Nuggets, for anybody associated with Colorado sports, man.
It's always great, man. It's always great to, get that taste again. Like it's been what, 6-7 years now since. God, it's crazy.
Almost a decade.
7 years. I know 7 years ago was the last time the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2015, obviously. And to get that taste again, to get that hunger in your mouth, you got a good team. You got the opportunity to go out there and compete and to finally just taste that sweet, sweet victory and celebrate with my friends. I mean, like I was saying earlier to you, I mean, I've been an Avs fan since about 2017 when I was moved in with my cousin, and he's got me into being an Avs fan. I've then brought in my best friend Cody. He's a Chiefs fan. We don't talk about that, but is my best friend. We're like, if we're gonna hang out together and we're gonna watch sports together, it can't just be football. We're gonna watch some hockey, and you're gonna be an Avalanche fan. We're gonna have at least that part in common. And then my stepson Jace, who is not a hockey fan at all, he's kind of caught on this year with me and whatnot. Nice. To be able to have that moment, to watch Jace is a Bengals fan. He had to suffer through the Super Bowl and everything. and to see the hurt on his face and to see the heartbreak and everything with him, to only come back around and see him be such a big Avs fan over this playoff stretch, to see Cody get another championship for him underneath his belt and stuff like that. The first one for the Avs. It was a special moment, guys. And like, it brings a little bit into perspective about just the impact that sports have to bring people together and to have fun and make just incredible memories, and I'm so happy for everybody in Avalanche territory. I'm so happy for everybody in the Denver area, the greater Colorado area as well. And just to be able to have that with everybody, with all of my friends and stuff like that was incredibly special.
That's it, Lance. You touched on that, and I couldn't have said it better. It's about coming together. Period. This should be a break for you guys. This is a break for me. It's a break for you, Lance. I know it is. We've talked about it. Nick, Carl, everybody here at MHH. This is what we love. This is football. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to argue. It's okay to give each other hell. We do it all the time. But this is the escape that we desperately need. Professional football, and your Denver Broncos are now relevant again, just like our guy Dylan Von Arx, who's been working really hard behind the scenes. Great conversations as always, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. A little bit does go a long way. Be sure to check out milehighhuddle.com for some work from Dylan. Dylan's been working really, really hard this offseason as well. Get at milehighhuddle.com as well to check out Lance's recent film breakdowns. He broke down not only Greg Dulcich tape, but we didn't even get to your film piece on some rookie named Montreal Washington, who was also named to Chad Reuter's all rookie team. Go to milehighhuddle.com and you can find that out. You can catch my piece about Broncos tight end Greg Dulcich being named to the all-rookie team and a few other things going on at MHH. And we're off and rolling, man. Things are not slowing down here at MHH. We're rocking. And we're super pumped to be with you, Broncos country. Tomorrow, yours truly will be back with Thomas Hall, host of the Legends of Mile High podcast that you can catch every Friday morning. Thomas has been doing a phenomenal job. Lance, I don't know that anyone can come onto the podcast scene and do a better job as quickly as they've done than Thomas. I mean, he pretty much debuted his show with Carl Mecklenburg, and then he's talking.
It's great.
He's talking to Justin Simmons the other day, and I'm just like, man, can we get some of this on maybe tomorrow night? I don't know if he can just ring these guys up. Thomas Hall is definitely a gem, and we appreciate everything he's doing. You've got Beckoning the Broncos with Kim Becker as well, building the Broncos every Tuesday night. The Dove Valley Deep Divers will be back on Friday at 6 p.m. That's where you can find Lance and his partner Eric Trickle. They'll be rocking this Friday, 6 p.m. Mountain. Be sure to tune into them. And then get at Lance at Sanderson MHH on Twitter. Get at yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. You can reach out to Nick at Nick Kendall MHH. He's been very ornery behind the scenes. I absolutely love him producing. Get at the official pod on Twitter at BTB Football Pod. On Twitter, the mothership at Mile High Huddle. And if you want to get your swag on, grab yourself a Building the Broncos hat like Lance has, or a Dove Valley Deep Divers hat. Go to huddleuppod.com. Get that swag on. So many of you guys have been supporting us from Facebook. That's facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And then subscribe, like, and share. You guys can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere. And I appreciate so many people reaching out saying, look, I can't catch the show live, but I'm definitely going to get to you guys. Our guy Jason Boland, definitely one of those dudes. And yeah, again, Lance, I appreciate you coming in on last minute notice. Greg Smith saying, hey, man, you missed one of these shows. Luke, you got to get Broncos for Breakfast to shout out. That's right. Broncos for Breakfast. You could catch Nick Kendall and Scott Kennedy, and get at Scott as well at Scout Kennedy. We've got all our bases covered here, Lance. I mean, this is the place for Broncos country to ride and roll. No subscriptions, nothing like that. Tons of free content. And again, man, this was so much fun. Let's not wait a year before we do this again. And yeah, Lance, this is awesome. This is why I show up for this, man, to just sit here and blab for an hour about football, about the Broncos, about good times. I can't wait to see what's going to come next.
Man, I'm excited. Again, so thankful to have the opportunity, and hopefully Nick gets feeling a little bit better. Not sure what's up with Carl, but to be able to sit down and chop it up with you, dude, it's always a blast. Like I said at the outset of the show, it's always fun to be able to just kind of get some new opinions and have some new conversations and get a fresh insight to something that somebody else is talking about. It's always great for that. But anyways, guys, I'm going to say my goodbyes, and we'll let Luke close out the show. So y'all stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, guys, go Broncos.
Boom. Go Broncos. As Nick would say, choose kindness and make sure that we're being good to each other, guys. Opinions and all that stuff. I want to hear them. Get at me. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. I want to hear all of it. So does Lance. Get at us on Twitter. Broncos country. Let's ride. Rock and roll. I'll see y'all tomorrow night.